No, I'm asking a lot. The price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for these issues. For this issue, we're only doing one. Captain America 336 from 1987. We are continuing our run of having Steve Rogers replaced as Captain America by John Walker. The Search for Steve Rogers, cover by Mike Zeck. Something that is also different this month is we are replacing Jim Shooter as editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics. This is Tom DeFalco's very first issue as editor-in-chief. So, end of an era of one of Marvel's greatest editor-in-chiefs of all time. So we see John Walker, Captain America here, and the title of our story, Natural Calling, here. And so Mark Gruenwald says here, or at least that's what I believe is, it could be just somebody being quoted here. For the third time in less than a month, a devastating blow has been struck against the Watchdogs, a paramilitary organization dedicating to imposing their brand of morality upon the American public. They are a right-wing group, and yes, people, even in the 80s, we've been a political people, so nothing changes. It was a blow delivered by one man, the Star-Spangled Avenger known as Captain America. So our credits here, Mark Gruenwald has been writing Captain America for quite a bit, and he will actually have the record of most issues of Captain America. Tom Morgan is the penciler with Dave Hunt inking, and I've already made mention, Tom DeFalco is the new editor-in-chief at Marvel Comics. And so you can see here that John Walker has defeated these watchdogs. And so what I mean by a right-wing group here is, you can see here they were threatening to blow up this clinic because they were giving birth control information to teenagers. It says here that Captain America had already apprehended 13 watchdogs that were going to be bombing here. And you can see the news and the police and the fire and rescue here. And you can see everybody wanting to interview Captain America. And he's like, nope, not talking here. So this was a news bulletin that I was reading in the beginning. And one of the things I just want to show here that you just don't see very often, you still see it with some of the old school people, but the cheekbones, how they were always given this big, thick brush line. And that is even from the days of the 60s with Jack Kirby and John Romita Sr. would do that, and all those people. So this was something done, but you just don't see the cheekbones being inked quite like you do now. So, and so we get another story real quick. Elsewhere, the news, the manhunt continues throughout the state of Washington for the ecological saboteur calling himself Brother Nature. So, and they continue here. The man presumed to be working alone has brought the state's timber industry to a costly standstill. through numerous acts of sabotage over the past 6 months. And this guy's like, hippie freaks taking away our jobs. Man, how my butt. The cops ain't done squad. If I catch that creep, he's going to be hamburger. And here we can see a backdrop of Popeye the Sailor here. And this guy here, which we presume to be Steve Rogers here. The natives are certainly restless tonight. It seems like wherever I go, trouble starts. Why is that? No one knows me here. And so you can see him kind of getting away here. You can see being blocked by the panels here. And so helped by certain unusual natural disturbances such as the Earth's tremors, gale force winds, and flooding. And this guy's like, help, that freaky hairball caused some of those things somehow. Go on, Albert. No one can do that. And so this guy here says we should form our own watchdogs. This guy says can't put food on the table of my family without work. And this guy here says I bet those park rangers are covering for him. And he's like, yeah, they're always been against us. He could even be one of them. Let's go to the ranger station down the road and let them know we mean business. Yeah. So we always had to get these stories going pretty quickly, you know, to set up comic books. Of course, back in the day, there were pretty much series of one and done, although you could have a story like this where you get a bigger picture if you buy it month to month, but for the most part stories were one and done. So and so Captain America here, and it's kind of fun seeing him with the beard. Whoa, hold it right there. You shouldn't take the law into your own hand. And they're like, who is he? My violence won't do anything except hurt your case and land you in jail. And this guy here says, just who do you think you are telling us what to do, pal? I'm just a stranger in these parts, and he says, unless you're a logger like us, what you think don't mean jack. And he pushes him here, and then you can see Captain America grab his arms here. I really think you should calm down. And this guy's like, Blondie's using judo on Bruno. Let's get him. And so Captain America elbows both of these guys. No one's getting anybody tonight. And so he knocks a couple of these guys down here. Anyone else want to blow off a little steam? No? Okay, then. Just think about what I said. Rioting and wrecking property won't get your jobs back. Which is true. And so, of course, he goes into his vehicle here. Try as I might, and I just can't stand idly by when I see stupidity about to erupt. Wonder if I got through to them. Probably not. And they're like, who was that guy? I don't know. Never seen him before. He acts like a big shot. So he continues, I doubt it. It's a good idea to spend the night in this parking lot. I better get a move on it. Move on a bit. I doubt it's a good idea. Sorry, I read that wrong. Move on. And I've been doing plenty of that in the past few months. And so you see Captain America here saying that now that he's seen the new Captain America make the news, he thought he'd be prepared for it, but he just feels alienated, lost, and saddened. And of course, we're going to get a bit of a recap here, and I have a playlist. Feel free to check that out here. But essentially, Steve Rogers has resigned his commission. And so that is why John Walker has become the new Captain America. And so Bernie Rosenthal, his kind of on again, off again girlfriend, he says, he's always been a hero. He doesn't know what to do. He says you should continue being Captain America. And of course, he's got these court order arrives that forbids him to wear the Captain America suit, and she grabs it here. Let me see that. You're going to fight this, aren't you? You're not going to let those bureaucratic blowhards do what Red Skull, Baron Zemo, and the Flag Smasher couldn't. And so, she essentially says, you should keep fighting, and Captain America doesn't want to become a guerrilla fighter. Should continue to keep going. People root for the underdog, and he just can't defy the orders, and he's having Avengers lawyers look into the legality, and he's gonna fight it. He just hasn't figured out how to fight it yet. Looks like the Falcon, D-Man, and Nomad have also all given him their opinions on the matter, and so he's driving here, and you can see all of a sudden that earthquake opening that road, and his van crashes into it. We're back in the Los Angeles area here, and we see Nomad and his girlfriend coming in, where they're going to meet D-Man, and he introduces himself, and I think the girl goes by the name of Vagabond, and so they admire the place. He says, made a little money in the wrestling. I've covered him also, and he go check out the playlist. And he says he's been monitoring, Captain America left him monitoring the hotline and responding to those he can. And then he says, how come he didn't have the Falcon do it? And the Falcon shows up at that time and says, I refuse to take it. And so the two of them shake hands here. And she likes the bird, and she says, don't flatter him. He's got a big enough ego as it is. And D-Man's concerned about how long it's been since anyone's heard from Captain America. It's been 2 months, and that was actually mentioned previously. I just sort of forgot. It's been 8 weeks or 2 months here. And D-Man says that his friends maybe can help him track him after what's happened. And so Falcon's like, it's not like him to stay away for so long. How do you find a guy who doesn't want to be found? And D-Man says, I put a description of Cap's van over the hotline. All across America, Cap's computer people are on the lookout. Someone's bound to spot him sooner or later. And Nomad says, that's assuming Cap's still in the van. So here he is, and of course he's very thankful he was wearing his seatbelt here. And he kind of lets him go and grabs the bike here and turns on the headlight here, and he deduces he's about 20 feet underground. So plenty of ways out if I want to abandon all my gear. So he gets out, uses the momentum of the bike. So he gets a good propulsion, would that be the word? Anyway, so he lands here and decides to go take a look here. And so he says, this doesn't look man-made. It doesn't look like it was done by dynamite, but the damage is only concentrating on the road here. Nothing on the forest side. And of course, here comes the that guy that we're referring to. He asked him if he was all right. Captain America says, yes, I'm all right. My van, however, is totaled. And he's like, bummer. So, and so he says to get on his bike and go. He's just looking to save the trees, and asks if he's Brother Nature, and he says, yup. And if he's the one causing these ecological catastrophes, and he says they're not catastrophes, they're miracles. And he asks if he caused the earthquake. He says yes, and he says, how'd you do that? And he says, I caused miracles. Now take off your mitts off me, man. Get lost. I got work to do. And suddenly a big wind, a gust shows up here, kind of blows him away here. So once the wind dies down, Steve's going to go chase after him, and he says, wait a minute, I'm not Captain America anymore. Why am I chasing after this fella? Curiosity, sense of duty, vengeance for totaling my van for the public good. And he's a little frustrated, but he's going off anyway. And so all of a sudden he looks at all these stags here, and Steve's like, there's a warrant out for your arrest, and I know from personal experience that uh, how whatever you know how to do endangers lives. That reads weird, but and so he sees that the stags are kind of protecting this guy, and they begin to charge at him. And so Steve does his best to get him out of the way here. And the guy's like, poor fella being trampled cannot be a pleasant way to go. And he wonders if he was a logger or ranger. But then, of course, Captain America grabs him and he says, who are you? And he goes, I'm Capt. And then he stops and he goes, I'm the captain. And so he's going to create an earthquake. But, of course, he kind of looks like he's standing on air. But as it's moving, he flips backwards here. And he's like, man, this guy's almost supernatural, says the guy that can control nature here. And so you can see the trees are kind of going through here. So he can control everything from nature, including the birds and bears, which is weird because technically everything's nature. So he should be able to control everything, but all right, so you can see here is that he swishes the owl away, and then the bear comes through, and then he fights the bear and punches it through, and the bear goes away after a kick from Captain America here. And he's like, dude, what? How can you do that? And so look at that. He can even control. This dude is like more powerful than Storm. I just sometimes the way the characters that are created, I'm like, what the heck? This guy should absolutely destroy Captain America, but for some reason he doesn't. So, all right. So he creates another earthquake. He falls and breaks his ankle here as Captain America lands there, and so. And so Captain America heals him up, and he asks how come you helped him, and he says, well, I used to be Captain America. So the guy understands now, and he kind of gonna give a little bit of his origin here. He used to be a park ranger, and he says here for 3 years I was one of the rangers' hardest working stiffs. Then about 6 months ago I learned about 10,000 acres of virgin timberland, which thanks to some bad federal legislation was going to be sold to private developers. There are redwoods on that land, some of them older than the US of A itself. I tried to fight through legal channels, but I got laughed out of court. And so always against the corporations, the greedy corporations. So he basically became a saboteur, but the loggers, of course, didn't want that, and they tried to kill him, or probably did kill him. And while he was buried, he gained the powers, the Earth. He became Earth Defender here. So now he uses his powers to fight for the Earth. And Captain America's like, interesting. He thinks he could be mystical like Doctor Strange, and he respects the guy's ideals. So we get to the last page here, and he helps him out here. He goes, in my case, the government I once worked in harmony with made it so I could no longer work with them. The question is, do I follow Brother Nature's route and become an outlaw, a guerrilla, in order to further my ideological pursuits? And he gets here and he sees all this down trees, and he's like, what? Look what I did. And he then points at it. Look what you made me do. And Captain America says, don't blame me for your actions. You didn't have to lose your cool like you did. I don't have to know to let's see. I don't have the power to disrupt nature. You do. Everyone is responsible for the consequences of their own action, regardless of circumstances. He's like, you're right. I blew it. I did the very thing I was trying to prevent. And then Captain America here. That's the danger of crossing the line and becoming a renegade. There's no telling how far you may be obliged to go to accomplish your ends. You might even end up harming that which you most want to protect. And so now he thinks here, in my case, if I were to wage a war against the Commission for the right to be Captain America, I too may have to go so far that I would hurt the ideal I serve. No matter what the personal cost, I must not declare war on appointed officials of my nation's governments. And so we get a quick the end. So these set up these kind of one and done stories like this. So Captain America 336 by Mark Gruenwald and Tom Morgan. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.